Shockers, what's up, Gruntworks Nation? The Big Earl's always asking, why is China hoarding food? Experts say that China is hoarding a massive amount of food. They will soon have over two-thirds of the globe's corn reserves, over half of its rice, and over half of its wheat. But when asked about it, China lies. One China expert says they, of course, will never admit to something like that. Well, what does China know that we don't? When it comes to global food shortages, China is the canary in the coal mine. You see, China is the world's number one food importer. They rely on the rest of the world to keep their people fed. So they can't afford to mess up, or there will be riots, civil panic, or even worse, when over a billion people can't eat. What does this mean for Americans like you and me? Two words: food shortages. That's why it's a smart idea to stock up on a kit of best selling Four Patriots survival food. Create your own stockpile of the best selling Four Patriots survival food kits, hand packed in the USA. The kits are compact and stack easily. They have different delicious breakfasts, lunches, and dinners. And their 5-star reviews on the website rave about the flavor and the taste. Right now, you can get 10% off your first purchase of Four Patriots survival food by typing in the code VTTGW at checkout. Just go to 4patriots.com and use the code VTTGW to get 10% off your first purchase of Four Patriots survival food. That's 4patriots.com. Use the code VTTGW.
Hey, what's up, Mental Health Nation? Hope everybody's having a great Wednesday. Sorry for the little bit late start. A lot of things happen. Of course, it's almost 11 o'clock here in Naples time. So super excited about the show today. We have lots to talk about. But first, before I get started with everything, I just want to say that, we lost 3 soldiers in the drone attack, and my heart goes out to the families and stuff as being a veteran and as veterans that listen to this show. We know the impact that can have, not just on the family, but also the community at large. So I want to thank them for their service and obviously for their sacrifice. I'm wearing the Ultimate Sacrifice t-shirt tonight. And I just want to say, to Sergeant Rivers and Specialist Sanders and Specialist Moffett, thank you for your service and the ultimate sacrifice. It will not be forgotten. We as soldiers know what that means when you leave, and we know what it feels like when somebody doesn't come back. And so to all my veterans brethren out there, I just want to say, if this is affecting you or this is bothering you in any way, please, take a moment to talk with somebody, give somebody a call. It's okay to be upset and touched by this and moved by it. It's a tough business that we're in, and it's even harder when you come home, and it's harder when others don't come home. So once again, I say condolences to them. Thank them for their service, and may God bless them. But with that, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I'm super excited about the show tonight. If you've been watching my Mental Health Minutes, I've been talking about, motivation and other stuff. But before I jump into it, the Mental Health Warrior book is now available again. You can go out to my website. You can order it. I did reduce the price down to $23.99. So, and plus shipping and handling, obviously. But it just takes a little bit longer for you to get it because I'm shipping it from Italy through my APOAE address. So just be cognizant of that. Up in the upper left-hand corner there, you see a little QR code with WAA for Reads Across America Radio. You can go on there and donate for 2024 to ensure that Reads are on those veterans' tombstones during the holiday season. Such an important event. And I'm super excited. As you guys know, they replay my radio show Fridays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 10 p.m. on Reads Across America Radio. It's super easy to find. You just download your iHeartRadio app, your TuneIn app, or your Odyssey app, and you search for Reads Across America Radio for all the great programming, not just mine, but they have a lot of great podcasts and a lot of great shows out there. And just want to say huge thanks to them and shout out. I do have the new hat with me, the new Reads Across America Radio hat. So I got that in the mail, so super excited about that. So you go out there and get their merch. Got also running across the bottom of the screen, the Four Patriots. It's always important to be prepared. We got springtime coming. I grew up in the Midwest. We always had tornadoes and stuff. And so you never know when you're going to lose power, have that big thunderstorm roll through or whatever. So it's always good to be prepared. And so if you use that code at the bottom of the screen, you can save yourself a little bit of money. And hey, who needs to save money nowadays, right? Feel free to go out and use that. It's super important. And also, you can go out to veteranstrashtalk.com and order our great t-shirts we have out there. We have the Mental Health Warrior t-shirt and the most popular t-shirt, Don't Be a Triggered Pansy, which I wore that shirt into the gym the other day. And I walked up to the counter, and the girl behind the counter said, she read my shirt. She's like, "That is a funny shirt." And she goes, "You might trigger some people in here tonight." And I kind of laughed at her. I said, if they're triggered by a t-shirt, they got bigger problems, and that's what the t-shirt's for. They need a t-shirt like this. So we had a good laugh about that, and that's kind of fun. So if you have a lot of conversation piece, you go out there and buy that t-shirt. It's one of the most popular t-shirts out there. And it's always good to have a fast, right? It's always good icebreaker with people. I do wear my t-shirt in that has, on the back of it, "You are a warrior, you are worthy, and you matter," because everybody does. And so it's super important. But I will tell you, was excited about tonight's show because there's something that I really felt like I need. Hey, Brian, how you doing? I'm going to pull you into the show one of these days. Hope you're getting a little bit better. I saw your Facebook post. You're having a little rough day. I hope it got better for you, buddy, and things smoothed out for you. But if you watch my minutes, is something I talked about this week so far has been about discipline and motivation. And I talked about that for a reason, because sometimes when you're going through recovery, when I was going through my issues with PTSD and other stuff, you lose motivation, right? Because you're not sleeping, you're drinking. It's hard to get up in the morning. It's tough to go to bed at night. Um, you don't feel like eating. You don't feel like making the bed. You don't feel like getting dressed. You don't feel like doing anything. But somehow you always find the strength to do it, right? And so that becomes discipline, right? That's hard to do. And when I made my mental health minute and I talked about that, is, I was been doing Pilates, and if anybody's done Pilates out there, it's a lot more strenuous than yoga, a lot more core workouts. So I've really been sore with that. Not a bad sore, but just sore. And I lift weights on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so Tuesday, I kind of felt like I wasn't going to go to the gym, but I made myself go anyway. And, that kind of made me think about motivation and discipline, and having the discipline when you're not motivated to do something. And I think that's important because, for me, when I was going through my issues and problems, and I was going and seeing my therapist, and of course I was, we all know this, I was lying to my therapist. I wasn't doing the right thing. I just wanted to get the stamps. So I, get put back off medical orders and get put back on active duty. And so, you're right. So I'd go and see him. I'd act motivated. I'd say, "Yeah, sure, the medication's working, blah, blah, blah." I had a whole story I'd work up. I put a lot of energy into to lie into this person for several months. That I lied to him before my attempt. But then after my attempt, and this is the last day of January, tomorrow is 1 February, and I talked about how January has been categorically not a good month for me. After my suicide attempt, and then going back and facing not only work, but facing my therapist who I lied to, and my birthday's in January and a whole lot of things. And I haven't celebrated my birthday in 23 years. My family will take me out for dinner or something like that, but I don't really make a big deal about that. And I think for me, it had a lot to go back when I was doing that recovery. But when I came back from Virginia after my suicide attempt, and I went back into therapy, it was really hard for me to stay motivated to try to get better, because January I had a lot of bad days. I talk about, sometimes when you're going through recovery, you have a couple of good days, but a lot of bad days. And for me, I had a lot of bad days in January. I mean, it was, now it's I'm not taking medications anymore. And it's, now I'm being truthful with my doctor, talking about what I felt and what I went through and all the stress of that, because now I'm reliving everything again. And then, then dealing with work, and then, work finding out that, oh shit, Cliff tried to kill himself, and, dealing with that, it really wore on me, and it was really hard for me to stay motivated, to stay, active in some shape or form. Of course, the relationship I was in at that point in time was obviously falling apart. So there's just a lot of things that were piling on in January. But I saw through it. I made it through it, and just like I have every other year since then, made it through January. I haven't really talked about that a whole lot, and I just thought it was important because I know what it feels like to be in recovery, and it seems like you take 2 steps forward and 27,000 steps back, and you're just like, I just can't go on another day doing this, and I just can't do it. But yet you find the strength and you find the will to do it another day, and then do it another day, and then do it another day, and then maybe have a bad day, but then you wake up and you do it again that day. And I just think it's important that you just keep trying to move forward. Um, I talk a lot about physical fitness because for me, of course, I don't work, since I retired, and being 100% disabled from the VA, sometimes working out for me is a struggle. And it causes me a lot of, not bad pain, but it causes me pain. And I just, at 54, I just can't do everything that I used to do. But I think for my age, I'm in really good shape. And even with all that said, on days that I can't work out, I get kind of depressed about that, and it bothers me. And so I always try to do something, whether it's walking or just get out of the house, go sit in the sunshine for a little bit. I just try to do something, and I think the point of that is that if you're in that place where you just can't seem to get over that hump, just can't seem to get over that hill, no matter what you do, it just doesn't seem to work. Um, do something like I did. I took a hard look at myself and what I was doing, and after my suicide attempt and driving back to Virginia from there, um, I had to decide that I was going to be important, that I mattered, but I still had to figure out how to make that work and make that part of my recovery. And I would say that wasn't easy at all. That was hard. And for somebody who's been through what I've been through, or not exactly what I've been through, but similar trauma, that's a hard thing to do because there's times and moments and days that is always going to remind you of something that's related to your trauma. That's PTSD. We know that. And it's learning to deal with those in a positive manner. But, they say that, but what's a positive manner, right? For me, it's working out. For me, it's playing PS5, Destiny. It's doing the podcast. It's doing speaking events. It's doing something that takes your mind off of that just long enough that you can refocus on something else. I talk about if you're sitting in a dark room and you're having those thoughts and they just keep rolling in, get up and leave the room. Something the doctor told me, because your mind, when you step through a doorway, is going to start forgetting what was in the other room and start thinking about the room you're going into to look around and see what's in there. I forget the name for it, and I'm sure somebody can Google it, throw it in the chat section. But so that's a lot of times when we leave one room and go to another, you forget why you left that room, why you're going in there. And so for me, when I get into some of my really dark times, um, it's just better for me to get up and leave that area. One of the videos that I made last week was I talked about when my ADHD got really spun up that one day, and it does it every day. But for whatever reason, it was really bad. And so I get up to go to the gym. Well, I was going to go to the gym, but I had to move some stuff up to the storage area, which is upstairs from our apartment here in Italy. And so I did that, and I carried one thing up and went back downstairs, went into the middle bedroom, which really hasn't been organized yet. And guess what? I had to organize that. So then I spent, 45 minutes, an hour folding blankets, making beds, rearranging furniture. And then I thought to myself, oh crap, I forgot to go do the stuff upstairs. Well, in the process of doing that, I walked by the kitchen. So, the floor needs to be swept. Or, oh, now I got to wash dishes. Or now I got to do this. Or now I got to do that. And so 2 hours later, on a 15-minute project, I still hadn't made it to the gym. And finally, I just had to stop. And this is one of the things I learned in the TBI clinic is I had to stop and just go somewhere else, go. And that's what I did. And so I just stopped, and I had to get out of there. I had to leave there because I knew that I was just going to keep going. And this house is never a mess because my ADHD won't allow it to be a mess. I just have different levels of clean, and I'm sure some people out there will understand that. But when I get to that point, I just have to stop. And I think for people who are PTSD or have other issues, that's a hard thing to do, and it was hard for me to learn to do that. Is just to stop the cycle, even if it's just for a moment. I left, went to the gym, came back, my mind had calmed down, and I wasn't so erratically doing, 16,000 different things. And that's something that it kind of upset me. And I made that video, and it, you can check it out. It wasn't a mental health minute. It was just a video I posted on Facebook last week. You go back and find it, or I can dig it up and repost it if somebody wants to see it again. But I think for people who are like me or have those kind of issues, it's finding that motivation or that discipline to stop the cycle, to stop what you're doing, to refocus, and to know that it's okay, to know that it's fine to feel that way, to know it's perfectly 1,000% normal. It's nothing bad on you or anything like that. And I think that if you start looking at it that way and really look into yourself, I think you'll find a way to make those moments in that time a little bit better for you. And I think that's why I wanted to talk about, discipline and motivation. And for me, what it means outside of exercise is just having the ability, like the story I just told about the ADHD, is having the motivation to stop, right? Maybe discipline's a bad word, but I had in my mind that it was okay to stop and go do something else and then come back to what I was doing. And that was hard. But for a lot of years, I didn't understand what was going on with me. And if you guys have been watching the show, I have a TBI injury, and although that's, it's as good as it's going to get, that's what causes my ADHD was from that service related. So, and I don't take medications. My own personal belief. I don't take any medications at all, actually. But that was my decision, and I worked through that with my doctors. I didn't do that on my own. But I think it's important to When you are having a bad day, or when you're not things aren't going well, or you're in recovery, and maybe you relapsed. Maybe you're a recovering alcoholic and you relapse and drink, and or a drug addict, or prescription medications or whatever, and you relapsed. Um, take a hard look in what caused you to relapse. What was the motivation behind that? And what discipline didn't you have to keep you from relapsing, right? And so you have to look at those factors. And then I think once you figure out, maybe, I'm not an expert, just a guy talking, but maybe once you figure out why you didn't stop it when you started to go down that road, right? So as I pick up this drink, of course, this water, but if it's alcohol and I was a recovering alcoholic, you had that second where you could have stopped and said, no, I'm not going to do this, but you didn't. As I take a drink, that's funny. So look at yourself and find out, why didn't I stop and not take that drink? Why didn't I have the discipline to keep myself from doing that? Don't beat yourself up too bad. It's okay. We all stumble, we all fall, we all trip. It's all part of life. It's all good. It's all good. But I think, and for me, I had to figure this out for myself, and it was hard. I had to find out why what I was doing wasn't working, right? The steps I was taking and retaking and taking again and retaking, I always round up with the same result, right? It wasn't until I honestly looked at myself and honestly looked at my situation and honestly looked at what all is going around me and say, now I know why I did that. Now I understand. Maybe it's your friends that don't want you to get better, or maybe it's something in your brain or self-destructive behavior you have, or something. If you look hard enough into yourself, I think you're gonna find the reason why you go back. For some people, they go back because that's safe. They go back because they're scared to go forward. I know what that feeling's like. I know what it feels like to be too scared to move forward. So you just get comfortable and you go back. And I think for a lot of people in rehab or have gone through trauma, I think they go through that. Um, I and I because I did. And then when I would stumble, I would spend a lot of time beating myself up when really I shouldn't have, right? I should have said, okay, I messed up. Yeah, I had a drink I shouldn't have, or I took that prescription drug. I did something that I wasn't supposed to do, and I did it. But that's okay. You know what? I'm gonna make sure that I'm not gonna do that again. Try to. So then you look at yourself and you write down. I always like to write down things. I learned that in TBI clinic. I used to never write down stuff. Write down. Okay, let's see here. What was I doing that day that I got so upset that the only way I thought I could fix it was to take a drink, or the only way I thought I could fix it was do something that I wasn't supposed to be doing? Think about that and look at what those triggers were. Because once you figure out what triggered you to do that, then maybe you can go in and start fixing those triggers. And I tell you that when you look into yourself, when you look at your own shortcomings as a human being, as a person, as a man, as a woman, um, or whomever, that is a hard look to look at. That's a tough one. I will tell you, because it's hard to say it was totally my fault, right? You always want to look to blame somebody, or say it was this fault or it's that person's fault. If they only would have done this, or if they would have done that, or if I wouldn't have done that, or all these things. But in reality, it comes down to you and how are you going to perceive and how are you going to fix those things within inside yourself. And it's not until you get to that point, I feel, me personally, this is just, me talking. I don't think until you get to that point are you going to stop the cycle of, going back, stop the cycle of, regressing or not progressing as fast as you should. Um, but once you do that, once you go through that process, and you say, okay, let's see. I got really stressed out at work. My coworkers are a jackbutt, and I just wanted to grab a hold of him and just, you know, I've had those days at work, and so you go out, you walk it off or whatever, but then maybe you go home and you're still fretting and stewing about it, right? Still thinking about it, and still bothering you. Maybe you're stiffy with the kids, maybe stiffy with the wife, and or the next thing you know, you're everybody goes to bed and you're sitting up late and you're having a drink and you're getting all pissed off again, and then you realize, I had to realize that I'm telling on myself now, by the way, and that I just allowed this person to screw up my whole day for 18 hours and my family time. And so I always made it a point to let things go and don't dwell on it, because if you don't, then you're never going to be able to recover also. Because if you're constantly dwelling on, oh man, I messed up, or man, I can't believe I retracted, or I can't believe I relapsed, or I can't believe I did this. If you constantly beat yourself up over that, then how are you going to move forward, right? You're staying in the circle and you're not breaking the circle, right? I very easily last week could have, or this week could have, not go to the gym and work out on Tuesday. What does it matter? I could still win on Thursday. But I know in myself, I would have beat myself up over that, because after I went to the gym and worked out, I felt so much better. And just going for a walk or anything is just, I just felt so much better, and I felt a sense of accomplishment. And that's something that's important too, is no matter how small it is, don't be ashamed or don't be afraid of giving yourself an accomplishment or a pat on the back, because sometimes I think we forget that. It might just be that you got up in the morning, you made your bed, or maybe you did something different that day, just a small accomplishment, and know it's okay to give yourself a little pat on the back for that. I think for a lot of times that we don't do that. you know um, we had new people moving downstairs, they were moving in, and I could have very easily just went down the steps and turned the corner and went out for my run, but I took you know 10 minutes out of my day and went and introduced myself, and asked if they need anything, and it was just being neighborly. um, well, really, I think 10 years ago, I wouldn't have said anything to him. I just would have went on about my business and ran. Um, but just because I get my own little world, my own little thoughts. But I think it's important to acknowledge in yourself little successes, and sometimes we forget that. And so, if you're a person who relapsed, or you're a person who's having a rough go at it, look at your day. Look at this moment. Look at the last 5 minutes. Look at the last 30 minutes, whatever it is. And I guarantee you there was something in there that you did good. Hey, for me in Italy, if I can drive to the grocery store and get back to the base safely and not get in a car wreck, that's a massive accomplishment. And for anybody that's driven in Italy, hey, it works. I'm telling you what, it works. But driving in DC for the last 20 years kind of prepared me for this. But I tell you what, if you got to make a decision and you got to stick with it and you got to go with it, and you can't second guess it for 2 seconds. Not out here, because they'll run your ass over. So if you're thinking about coming in, or if you've driven in Italy before, it's chaos. It's controlled chaos, but it's chaos. And especially when you come up to a roundabout, and if you see a gap, you got to take it. I have now discovered that the little Toyota Yaris diesel that my lovely wife bought is a little bit underpowered. So I may have to get me something with a turbocharge or something so I can get out there. Or maybe I'm just missing my Mustang and I just want to get me a different, faster car. Shh, we won't tell her that. She doesn't listen to the podcast, so it's all good. No, just joking. But I'm going to wrap it up here in a little bit, but it was funny. So I got to tell you a funny story because I got to end on a funny note. Yeah, that's a good point, Brian. I'm sorry I was getting ready to tell a funny story, but that was a good post that you said that, I'm glad that you don't think about that. Kudos for you for that. A lot of people that's a go-to, when something goes on, but I'm glad that you don't do that. And, whatever works for you, maybe you can throw it out there. When you get like that, it might help somebody else out. What you're going on. So I'm going with the funny stuff now. So, of course, my wife's a captain in the Navy, right? And she came home today and she had a teleconference at 1900. And so she tried to sign on to it, but she couldn't. Something was happening. I don't know. It's Teams. Something was going on. She couldn't get onto it. So she set her phone down and she kind of forgot about it. And so we're playing Destiny, right? I'm playing Destiny. She's playing Destiny. And get close time to do the podcast and stuff. And so she left her phone in the kitchen. And so I get on the phone, act like the phone rang. And I was like, hello? And I was like, yes, Admiral, hang on a second. I'll go get her. And I walked in there and I put my hand over the phone. And I was like, hey, this Admiral called and they want to know how come you wasn't on the teleconference. There's nobody on the phone. Man, she was so pissed off at me, but I thought it was funny. That was the look on her face was it was funny. It was funny. So maybe, I don't know, maybe tomorrow for my mental health minute, I've been thinking about doing something silly and maybe I'll do it. Is because I always wanted to try this. Maybe I'll make a video of me trying it because I've never done it. So my younger son Lloyd has a hoverboard and he rides his hoverboard all over the house, playing his iPad, drinking, get started, and it just became a part of him. And I keep looking at that thinking, I wonder if I could ride that. I wonder if I could get on that and not kill myself. So I don't know. Maybe I'll try that tomorrow. We'll see. I've been contemplating that. I'll wait till everybody leaves the house and I'll move everything out of the way and maybe I'll try to ride the hoverboard just for a good laughter or something a little bit different there. I think it's all very much needed. Yes, laughter is good medicine. And if you saw the one post that I made about the Motrin, right? Anybody's been in the military knows that that when you go to the doctor and you got a pain, they want to give you a Motrin or tell you put ice on it. And vitamin M. And so Lloyd was at the skate park. I told this story the other day, and he hurt his elbow really bad. He scratched up really good. He had a big mark on it. It's huge too. He fell off the side of the ramp and hit his arm. And I said I was so in tune with the military that he came home. He said he was in pain. Yeah, I saw it. So I gave him some ice, and then I gave him a Motrin, and then he was all better the next day. So, and I had to laugh about that because then it dawned on me that everything we joke about in the military about Motrin and ice, I just passed that on to my son. And that was quite funny. So, and he woke up the next morning and said, hey, Lloyd, how's your elbow? I was like, oh, it feels a little bit better, Dad. I was like, see, Motrin and ice works. But hey, that was fun. I found that funny. Now, what would even be funnier, and I probably will never do this, but it would be funny, is if I ever did a video of me doing Pilates and you guys see how uncoordinated I am. I'm the only male in the class, so I'm always in the front of the class because I never want to be behind. Because to me, I'm just too self-conscious because I don't know all the moves and I'm looking around there. I'll be trying to find the instructor to look at her, see what she was doing. And I'd just get too self-conscious about that. So I'm always in front of the class. And I'm sure that, because I can't see the ladies behind me, but I'm sure the ladies behind me are just getting a kick out of watching me try and do Pilates. But I don't care. It's fun, right? If you can't laugh at yourself, who can you laugh at? But hey, I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. I hope you got a little something out of the show. once again, keep the family members or the service members that lost their lives in your hearts and your prayers this week, or anybody who has gone to the other side. But hey, remember, you can catch my podcast on Fridays and Sundays at 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. on Reads Across America Radio. Just like I said in the beginning of the podcast, super easy to find. You just go to your iHeartRadio app, your Odyssey app, or your TuneIn app. You search for Reads, which is the number one search on the app, and find Reach Across America, and you can see all the great programming. Like I said, the Mental Health Warrior book is, I'm back to selling it. I can sign it now, so you can get a signed copy if you'd like, and I reduced the price of that. There's only about 500 books left. I don't know if I'm going to do a reprint of it, so once they're gone, they're probably going to be gone. The Four Patriots video is going to show at the end of the podcast, and then once again, you have the QR code up there for Reads Across America to ensure that the wreaths are placed on those gravestones, during the holiday season. But hey, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I hope you guys have a great and wonderful weekend and week coming up. Tomorrow's 1 February, so it's a new month. And hey, everybody stay well and take care.
Thanks for watching and listening. And now a word from our sponsor, Four Patriots. In a startling description, the UN food chief warned the world with the words, knocking on famine's door. He called what we're facing a perfect storm of a perfect storm. And he's not alone. Barron's published that a food shortage could be coming, even in the U.S. Farmers see it too. John Boyd Jr., a fourth-generation farmer, told Fox News that we're going to see empty food shelves in the coming months. That's why getting survival food is more important than ever now. Create your own stockpile of the best-selling Four Patriots survival food kits. It's not ordinary food. We're talking good for 25 years super survival food, hand-packed in a family-owned facility in the USA and giving jobs to over 200 Americans. They have different delicious breakfasts, lunches, dinners. You can make these meals in less than 20 minutes. Just add boiling water, simmer, and serve. And right now, for the next few days, listeners of the Veteran Trash Talk podcast will get 10% off their first order at 4patriots.com by using the code VTTGW. Go to 4patriots.com and use the code VTTGW to start your stockpile today.